I was standing in the airport terminal holding a bouquet of flowers for my mother. That is when I saw them. My sister Rosa's two kids dressed in designer clothes walking toward the first-class boarding line. Right behind them were my parents laughing, pulling brand new luggage. 2 weeks ago, my father told me they could not afford to buy me a ticket for this family vacation. He said money was tight. Yet there they were boarding first class without me. Before I begin this story, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. If you have ever felt like the forgotten child in your own family, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. What happened 1 week after this moment changed everything. Stay with me because the ending is something you will not expect. My name is Marcus and I am 30 years old. I work as a software engineer at a tech company in Columbus, Ohio. I have been financially independent since I graduated from college, paying my own bills, my own rent, and my own student loans. I grew up in a small town about 2 hours from the city in a modest house where my parents raised me and my older sister Rosa. Rosa is 4 years older than me. Growing up, she was always the golden child, the princess, the one who could do no wrong. I am not saying this out of jealousy or bitterness. I am saying it because it is simply the truth that I lived with for almost 3 decades. When Rosa graduated from high school, my parents threw her a huge party. They invited the entire extended family, catered food, and bought her a brand new car. A shiny red sedan that she drove around town like a trophy. When I graduated 4 years later, there was no party. My parents said they were tired from work that week. I got a card with $50 inside and a used Honda Civic that I had to pay for myself over the next 2 years. When Rosa went to college, my parents paid her tuition in full. She graduated debt-free with a degree in business administration. When it was my turn, they sat me down and explained that times had changed. The economy was different. They could not afford to help me the same way. So I took out student loans. I worked part-time jobs during school. I graduated with $42,000 in debt hanging over my head. Every time Rosa and I had a disagreement growing up, my parents took her side. Every single time. If I complained, I was being dramatic. If Rosa complained, she was being mistreated. I learned early on that my voice did not carry the same weight in that house. But I always told myself that maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe I was being too sensitive. So I worked harder. I studied harder. I tried to prove that I was worthy of the same love and attention that Rosa received so effortlessly. Then came the announcement that changed everything. 6 months ago, my parents called a family meeting. They told us they wanted to celebrate their 35th wedding anniversary with a special trip, a family vacation to Hawaii, all of us together. They said it would be 2 weeks of sun, beach, and quality time. Rosa and her 2 kids, ages 6 and 8, were invited, and so was I. I cannot describe how happy I was. For the first time in years, I felt like I was truly part of this family. Like I mattered. I immediately requested 2 weeks off from work, which was not easy because we were in the middle of a major project. I turned down a promotion opportunity that required me to be available during that time. I bought gifts for my nephew's beach toys and snorkeling gear. I started planning outfits, researching restaurants in Maui, imagining all the memories we would create together. For once, I allowed myself to hope that things were changing. Then, 2 weeks before the trip, my phone rang. It was my father. His voice was heavy, apologetic. He said, "Marcus, we need to talk. Your mother and I have been looking at the expenses and things are tighter than we expected. The flights, the hotel, the activities. It is adding up. We are so sorry, son, but we cannot afford to buy your ticket. Maybe next time, okay." I sat there in silence, my heart sinking into my stomach. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to understand. But my throat felt tight and the words would not come out. Finally, I managed to ask one thing. "What about Rosa? Is she still going?" There was a pause on the other end. A long, uncomfortable pause. "Rosa already booked her tickets," my father said quietly. "Hers are non-refundable." I hung up the phone and stared at the wall for what felt like an hour. Something did not feel right. Something did not add up. But I pushed those thoughts away, telling myself that I was being paranoid. I was wrong. On the day my family was supposed to leave for Hawaii, I made a decision. Even though I was not going with them, I wanted to see them off. I wanted to hug my mother, wish them a safe trip, and show them that I was not bitter, that I understood. That I still loved them despite the disappointment. I woke up early that morning and drove to the airport. I stopped at a flower shop on the way and bought a beautiful bouquet of yellow roses, my mother's favorite. I also picked up some candy and small toys for my nephews. I wanted them to know their uncle was thinking of them. When I arrived at the airport, I parked and walked toward the terminal. I knew their flight was scheduled to depart around 10 in the morning, so I figured I would catch them during check-in. I spotted them from across the terminal. My parents, Rosa and her 2 boys. They were standing near the check-in counters, but something immediately caught my attention. They were not at the regular economy counter. They were at the first-class counter. I stopped walking. I stood behind a large pillar partially hidden and watched. Rosa's kids were wearing matching designer outfits. Her 8-year-old son was pulling a small Louis Vuitton carry-on bag. Her 6-year-old was holding a brand-new iPad. Rosa herself was dressed in an expensive-looking sundress. Her hair perfectly styled, a pair of designer sunglasses perched on her head. My parents were there too, smiling and laughing like they did not have a care in the world. My father was helping with the luggage. My mother was fussing over the boys, adjusting their collars, kissing their cheeks. This was not a family that could not afford an extra plane ticket. I moved closer, staying out of sight, my heart pounding in my chest. The flowers in my hand suddenly felt heavy, ridiculous. Then I heard their voices. Rosa was talking to my mother, and their words carried across the quiet terminal. "Mom, thank you so much for covering everything. First-class tickets for all 5 of us. That is incredible." Rosa's voice was bright, cheerful. My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Of course, sweetheart. You and the kids deserve the best. This trip is going to be wonderful." Rosa laughed. "I am just glad we did not have to invite Marcus. You know how he gets. He always makes things awkward." My mother nodded, a knowing smile on her face. "Do not worry about that. Your father handled it. We just told him we could not afford his ticket. He believed it." They both laughed. I stood there frozen. The flowers slipped from my fingers and fell to the floor. Yellow petals scattered across the white tile. They did not see me. They did not know I was there. They kept talking, kept laughing, kept preparing for their perfect family vacation. A vacation that was never meant to include me. In that moment, every memory from my childhood came flooding back. Every birthday that was forgotten while Rosa's was celebrated. My 18th birthday, when no one remembered until 3 days later. Rosa's 18th birthday, with the giant cake and the new car and the tears of joy. My college graduation, when I walked across that stage and looked into the audience searching for my parents' faces. They were not there. They had to take Rosa house hunting that weekend. She was buying her first home and they wanted to help her look. The time I was hospitalized with a severe case of pneumonia. I was in the hospital for 5 days. My parents visited once for about 30 minutes. Rosa did not come at all. She said hospitals made her uncomfortable. Every time I came home for the holidays, I slept in the basement. My old bedroom had been converted into a guest room for Rosa's family, even though Rosa had her own house. Her kids needed a comfortable place to stay when they visited, my mother explained. I was always an afterthought. Always second place. Always not quite enough. And standing there in that airport watching my family laugh about how easily they had lied to me, I finally understood. It was not about money. It was never about money. They simply did not want me there. I bent down, picked up the scattered flowers, and dropped them into a nearby trash can. Then I turned around and walked out of the airport without looking back. I did not cry. I did not scream. I did not confront them. But something inside me shifted. Something hardened into resolve. On the drive home, my phone buzzed. A text message from my mother appeared on the screen. "We are about to board. We will miss you, sweetheart. Next time for sure. Love you." I did not respond. Instead, I went home, sat down at my kitchen table, and opened my laptop. I had some research to do. The first thing I did was call a lawyer, not because I wanted to sue my family, but because something had been nagging at me for 2 years. Something about my grandparents' estate. My paternal grandparents passed away within 6 months of each other, about 2 years before this incident. My grandfather went first from a heart attack. My grandmother followed shortly after, almost as if she could not bear to live without him. They had been married for 58 years. I loved my grandparents. They were the only family members who ever treated me the same as Rosa. When I was a kid, I spent summers at their farmhouse. My grandfather taught me how to fish. My grandmother taught me how to bake apple pie from scratch. They came to my college graduation when my parents did not. After they passed, my parents handled the estate. They told Rosa and me that our grandparents had left everything divided equally between their 2 grandchildren. Rosa received about $20,000. I also received $20,000. At the time, I did not question it. I was grieving and money was the last thing on my mind. But now, sitting in my apartment with my family 30,000 feet in the air somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, I started to wonder. I called a lawyer named Patricia Sullivan, a woman who specialized in estate law. I explained my situation and she agreed to look into it. 3 days later, Patricia called me back. Her voice was careful, measured. "Marcus," she said, "I found your grandparents' will. The original will filed with the county. And I need to tell you something important." My heart started racing. "What did you find?" "Your grandparents left very specific instructions," Patricia explained. "Their estate was valued at approximately $500,000 in total. This included their savings investments and their farmhouse property. According to their will, the estate was to be divided as follows: 70% to their only grandson, which is you, 30% to their only granddaughter, which is your sister Rosa." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" "There is more," Patricia continued. "The farmhouse property, valued at approximately $200,000, was left specifically to you. Your grandparents wrote a personal note in the will stating that they wanted you to have the house because you were the one who spent time there with them. They wanted it to stay in the family through you." I could not breathe. My hands were shaking. "How much was I supposed to receive?" I asked. "Based on the will, you should have received approximately $350,000 in total, including the farmhouse. Instead, you received $20,000. "What happened to the rest?" Patricia paused. "Based on my research, it appears that your parents, as executors of the estate, may have redirected the funds. I found records showing that a significant sum was used to pay off your sister's mortgage. Another portion was used to purchase a vacation property in Florida under your parents' names. The farmhouse was sold 2 years ago and the proceeds went into an account controlled by your parents." I sat there in stunned silence. For 2 years, I had no idea. For 2 years, my parents had hidden this from me. They had taken what my grandparents specifically wanted me to have and given it to Rosa. They had sold the farmhouse where I had spent the happiest summers of my childhood. Patricia cleared her throat. "Marcus, you have legal options here. This could constitute breach of fiduciary duty, possibly even fraud. You could pursue civil action to recover what is rightfully yours." I thanked her and hung up the phone. Then I sat in the dark for a long time thinking, did I want to sue my own parents? Did I want to drag this through courts, make it public, turn our family into a legal battle? No. That was not who I wanted to be, but I was done being silent. I was done accepting their lies. I was done pretending everything was fine. I spent the rest of the week gathering documents, bank records, property transfers, the original will. Patricia helped me compile everything into a clear, organized file. Evidence of everything they had done. Then I waited for them to come home. 1 week after they left for Hawaii, my family returned. I knew because Rosa posted pictures on social media. Sunset dinners, beach days, my nephews building sandcastles. My parents holding tropical drinks, smiling at the camera. They looked so happy. The day after they returned, I drove to my parents' house. I did not call ahead. I did not warn them. I just showed up. When I walked through the front door, they were all in the living room. Rosa was showing photos on her phone, laughing about something that happened at the resort. My nephews were playing with new toys, probably purchased on the trip. My parents were relaxed, content still glowing from their vacation. Everyone looked up when I entered. My mother's face registered surprise. "Marcus, we were not expecting you." "Are you okay?" "I am fine," I said calmly. I walked over to the coffee table and set down the folder I had been carrying. "I just have something I need to discuss with the family." Rosa rolled her eyes. "Can it wait? We just got back." "No," I said. "It cannot." I opened the folder and spread the documents across the table. I watched their faces change as they realized what they were looking at. "I was at the airport," I began. "The day you left for Hawaii. I came to say goodbye, to wish you a safe trip. I brought flowers for Mom." My mother's face went pale. "I heard everything," I continued. "I heard Rosa say she was glad I was not invited. I heard Mom explain how you just told me you could not afford my ticket. How I believed it." Rosa opened her mouth to speak, but I held up my hand. "But that is not why I am here." I am here because of this. I pointed to the documents. Grandma and Grandpa's will. The real one. The one you never told me about. My father's hand started trembling. I was supposed to inherit $350,000, I said. I was supposed to get the farmhouse, the place where I spent every summer with them, the place they specifically wanted me to have. Instead, I got $20,000 and you used the rest to pay off Rosa's mortgage and buy yourselves a vacation home. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. My mother started crying. Marcus, please. You do not understand. We were going to tell you. We just needed time to figure out how to explain. 2 years, I said quietly. You had 2 years. My father tried to reach for my hand. Son, we can work this out. We will make it right. We will pay you back. I pulled my hand away. I do not want your money, I said. I never cared about money. What I cared about was being part of this family. What I cared about was being loved the same way you love Rosa. But I see now that was never going to happen. Rosa was crying now too. Marcus, I am so sorry. I did not know about the will. I swear I did not know. Maybe you did not, I said. But you knew how they treated me. You knew and you never said a word. You let them exclude me over and over again because it benefited you. I stood up and gathered the documents. I am not going to sue you, I said. I am not going to take this to court. But I want you to understand something. For 30 years I tried to earn your love. I worked hard. I stayed quiet. I accepted being treated like a second choice. And for 30 years it was never enough. I looked at each of them one by one. I am done trying. From now on I am going to build my own life. A life where I do not need anyone's approval. A life where I know my own worth. Then I walked out the front door, got in my car and drove away. In my rearview mirror I could see them standing at the window. Nobody was smiling anymore. The first few weeks after that confrontation were the hardest of my life. I thought I would feel triumphant. I thought standing up for myself would feel like victory. Instead, I just felt empty, hollow. I lay awake at night replaying the conversation, wondering if I had done the right thing. I missed my mother. I missed the rare moments when she would call just to chat, when she would send me recipes she thought I might like. I missed the idea of family, even if the reality had always been painful. But I knew I could not go back. I could not return to being invisible. I could not pretend that everything was fine when it never had been. So I focused on healing. I started seeing a therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Patterson, who specialized in family trauma. She helped me understand that the pain I was feeling was not weakness. It was the natural process of grieving a relationship I had always wanted but never truly had. I threw myself into my work. 3 months after the confrontation, I received a promotion. Senior software engineer. My boss said I had shown remarkable focus and leadership during a difficult period. He did not know what I was going through, but somehow the pain had translated into productivity. I started building real friendships. My coworker Jenna invited me to join her hiking group. Another colleague named Derek started a weekly poker night, and I became a regular. These people did not know my family history. They just knew me as Marcus. And they liked me for who I was, not for who my family wanted me to be. On my 31st birthday, I did something I had never done before. I threw myself a party. Nothing extravagant, just a small gathering at my apartment. Jenna brought a homemade cake. Derek brought good whiskey. We played music, told stories, and laughed until our stomachs hurt. As I blew out the candles surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, I realized something. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged. About 4 months after I walked out of my parents' house, my mother called. Her voice was small, broken. She said she was sorry. She said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again, but she needed me to know that she loved me, that she had always loved me, even if she had failed to show it. A week later, my father sent me a letter, 6 pages handwritten. He admitted everything. The favoritism, the lies about money, the estate. He wrote that he had spent his whole life trying to give Rosa everything because he was afraid of losing her. He never realized that in doing so he had lost me. Rosa came to my apartment one evening unannounced. She brought an envelope with a check inside. $50,000. She said it was a start toward repaying what I was owed. I looked at the check for a long time. Then I handed it back to her. I do not want the money, I said. If you want to make things right, donate it to Grandma and Grandpa's favorite charity, the one that helps kids in foster care. They would have liked that. Rosa started crying. She hugged me and I let her. I forgive you, I told her. But I need time. We cannot go back to how things were. We have to build something new, something real. She nodded, wiping her tears. I understand. Today, my relationship with my family is still complicated. We are not close like some families are. We do not have Sunday dinners or weekly phone calls. But there is honesty now. There is acknowledgement of the past and a fragile hope for the future. I have learned that family is not just blood. Family is the people who show up for you, who see you, who love you without conditions. Sometimes that means your relatives. Sometimes it means the friends you choose along the way. I do not know what the future holds. I do not know if my parents and I will ever have the relationship I once dreamed of. But I know this. I have stopped waiting for their love to make me whole. I have stopped measuring my worth by their approval. And in letting go of that expectation, I finally found peace. If you are watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You are not alone. And your value as a person is not determined by how your family treats you. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to stop waiting for love that may never come the way you need it. That does not make you selfish. That makes you strong. So I ask you today, have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever had to choose between your own well-being and keeping the peace? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story touched you in any way, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss more stories like this one. And share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I wish you peace, healing, and the courage to know your own worth. Until next time.